So in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at one of my new favorite pieces of software, and that is something called Sessionwire. So what is Sessionwire? Well, it's kind of a combination of a couple different things. So if you've been doing any remote work over the last couple of years, which I'm pretty sure a lot of us have been, we're using different applications. So the most popular one that I saw coming around and I began to use would be Zoom. So a software program like Zoom, that's great, except for it doesn't do the best job with audio. So we would be running Zoom, and then we would have some other services that we could subscribe to where we had the ability to kind of stream really high quality audio. And then behind the scenes, you may have to run some other applications that are helping you virtually connect these different devices and make everything work. The thing I like about Sessionwire, let me just turn off my comments here. The thing I like about Sessionwire is that it kind of does everything all in one package. So if you're interested in getting some information, you can head over to the Sessionwire website. They've got some different categories here. You can learn, you can watch different videos. The main thing I want to kind of point out here is what the audio quality is like. The short version is it's fantastic. So the Sessionwire application utilizes a well-known audio codec alongside proprietary software to transmit audio at an effective 48K 32-bit floating point over our dedicated stereo HQ audio stream at 400 kbps. So if we take into account that the highest quality MP3 that you can send out would be 320, this is running at 400, that kind of gives you an indication. Now, like I said, the thing I like about Sessionwire is that it kind of does everything in one place as opposed to having to run different applications and stitching them together in order to run a virtual session and get audio sent, high quality audio sent or received, and also to be able to have a basic voiceover connection. So I don't want to spend too much time because it's kind of self-explanatory what you see here. You have connections, you can call people. We have all the basic things that we would expect. Like I can change between different cameras. I have a mobile camera that runs in the booth. I have a mirrorless camera that's connected over here, CamLink, and then I have my main camera over here. Also, we can do things like, for example, screen sharing. Pretty much what you would expect. I've got two different screens and we can share different applications. The thing that makes this really, really cool is the way that they handle the talkback stuff and the high quality streams. Now this video is going to be two parts. In the second part, I'm going to do an actual live demonstration with a call where I bring somebody in on a call. But if we wanted to talk about it really, really quickly, you have your talkback mic. Now this is necessary when you're talking to people, whether you're having one conversation or multiple people. So this talkback mic could be a dedicated mic that you have connected to your interface, or it could also be something like a microphone that's on a webcam, or like a desktop USB mic, whatever type of thing you have. So you select a microphone and then you select a speaker destination of where you want to hear the talkback coming from anybody else. Pretty self-explanatory. In most people's cases, I would probably say that if you had, for example, one interface, that your microphone source would be that interface, and also you'd be listening to the main outputs of that interface for any talkback. Then we have the HQ section. Now the HQ section is where it kind of pulls everything together. So, for example, in this particular case, I'm using the Sessionwire Send plugin and the Sessionwire Receive plugin, and I'm actually running my high quality Receive and Send. I'm running that from within my DAW. So that's the basics on this system. Now, the last thing I'll say about the talkback part of things is, for the most part, it's definitely worth setting this up in the standalone application, and then you don't have to worry about it. You will always hear talkback from anybody that's dialed into the call, and they will always hear your talkback. The other cool thing is there's an auto-mute function for your talkbacks, both the local, which would be my side, and the remote side. When you have auto-mute on, the minute you press play in the transport in your DAW, it mutes everybody's talkback. So especially if there's somebody that has some fan noise or something. So it can be very, very useful. Really quickly, I want to take a look at my setup that I'm running over here. There's really only a couple points I want to tackle because you're going to see the rest in the next part of this video, but we do have the ability to route the talkback using the plugins, like I mentioned. The only time that I would ever do this is if I had, for example, an artist that was listening to a discrete cue mix. That's the only time I would route the talkback, because if I was bringing in a remote talkback, and this could be for multiple people, I would definitely want to have the ability to use basically a cue send. depending on which DAW, a headphone send, a QMix, whatever. And then I would be able to route that talkback coming in remotely to somebody who's sitting in my booth behind me. But other than that, there's really no benefit to complicate things in the DAW. So I would have this in my template, but I wouldn't use it. So for that matter, I'm going to basically just deactivate these tracks or disable these tracks, and then let's hide the two of these. So the simple part about this, and there's really only one rule you need to follow, is that you want to make sure that you know where you're sending the high quality audio from. And the other rule that I would never break is if somebody is sending you audio, if you're receiving audio remotely, whether that's talkback or high quality streams, I would definitely want to make sure that I'm never sending that back to the same person, because then they're going to hear everything twice. If they engage playback, they're going to hear it in their DAW, then it's going to come to me and I'll send it back out to them. They're going to be hearing two streams happening at once. So that's really the only rule you need to take into consideration. So for that case here, I'm just going to use a submix, and it's just basically in Studio One, it's going to be a bus channel, and I'm going to route my audio that I'm sending to the person. That gets routed to a submix, and I use the Sessionwire send plugin from the actual submix. Now here we have a really useful trim, so if your level is pretty loud, then I can trim this back to whatever I need for the artist on the other end to be comfortable with, and I don't change the gain structure in my studio over here. But other than that, it's pretty simple. Then in terms of the Sessionwire receive, we have another plugin that we can run. Again, we have a trim. You can run this on an aux channel in various DAWs, or you could run it on an audio track in Studio One over here. I've got it set up on an aux channel. And then alternatively, you could also even have a record track where you'd basically set the input of this to that same aux channel, and then I can actually record back the audio that's being played out from the remote side. I could actually record that back into my session. There's obviously going to be a delay, and there's ways that we can work around that, but it's pretty cool. It's pretty simple. It's really easy to set up, and I really like the way that works. And in these cases where I have these tracks that I'm basically receiving high quality audio from somebody, I would probably want to hear that isolated if I was listening in the studio. So I've just temporarily changed my routing to a headphone routing that I have. I have two sets of headphones on this particular interface. And then I'm just going to assign one of these headphones to be that discrete headphone source. So I can toggle back and forth just by clicking main mix or phones one, and I can listen to what I'm sending. That being said, you could also just route this directly to the main outs like this, because technically speaking, that's routed right to the main outs. We wouldn't be sending that back to the person, but that might get a little bit confusing. Anyways, that's it for this part of the video. In the next section here, we're going to jump into an actual live call. Okay, so in the first part of the video, I went over all of the basics. Now, I have an artist and producer / musician friend of mine. He's online waiting for a call, so we're going to give him a quick call. I'm just going to click call, and now we're just waiting for him to pick up. Hello, sir.
Hello, sir. How are you?
Not bad. How about yourself?
I'm well.
First of all, I wanted to say thank you for taking the time to do this. I know you've got a busy day and everything like that, but I think you're a pretty good representation of what makes these types of programs like a necessity these days. Because how many times have you traveled in like the last 6 or 8 months?
Well, 4 or 5, 6, actually like 6 times.
I know even in the last week, you've been and gone to the States, or the last, like, let's say 3 weeks, you've been and gone to the States, and you've been and gone to BC. You were in Spain before that. You were in Belgium, and then you were in the Dominican even. So during that time, how many times have we physically seen each other?
Well, maybe once.
But during that time, have we been working the full time?
Oh, yeah. We've been working. We've done a lot of projects since then. Yeah.
So the point is that's kind of like, I hate this word, but it did become a new normal.
Yeah, it became a necessity, really.
Because before this, we never did that. We always got together, and the most we would do is send each other something, and like we'd send a text message with an audio file of a mix and say, hey, what do you think? And then we'd schedule a studio day, right?
Totally, yeah.
Okay. So that's why I think you're a pretty good representation of why like these types of programs are really, really useful. I've already gone over the basics in an earlier part of this video in terms of setup, but just so we're clear, in terms of your audio setup, you have basically your TalkBack is built-in speaker in your MacBook Pro. Your that's your microphone. Your speakers on your Studio 192 interface, that's playing back my talkback. And also that is playing back my high quality audio when I send it to you.
Correct.
And then your Studio 192, you have a microphone plugged in, which we're going to use to do a really simple demonstration. But that is what you have set for your high quality. So if I'm going to just unshare my screen for a moment, you're not going to be able to see my screen. But basically, I'm using the Sessionwire send and receive plugin for my high quality send and receive because I'm running the DAW session. But on Ben's end, he basically has his high quality audio source. They're both set to his audio interface. So he's plugging into that. He's using the low latency mixer to monitor on his side, but he's hearing my talkback. He's also going to hear my high quality send. So that's how the routing is set up. Now I have a session open. I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. We'll go screen 1. And also I'm going to pop out your window so that I get a picture in picture. And I like doing this because I still like having visual contact. The other cool thing is if other people were in on this call, they would be able to come in and you'd see that on the application as well. So I'm sharing my screen right now, but you'd see other people as part of this call. But right now it's just me and you. So I don't know, do you remember this particular track here?
Oh yeah, I remember this one.
So the cool thing about this one, this is the first ever track that I actually did remote recording. I tried it once in like a long time ago with another company, but for this one, we actually did some of your guitar parts. We did those entirely virtually.
Yeah, I remember. That was really cool.
Yeah. Now the other cool thing is we even cut a vocal track, which it didn't end up getting used as the final, but it did end up getting used for like some layers that we had in where they were like hyper compressed, tuned. Maybe I created some artificial doubles or something like that, but that's this track over here. And this track in itself, it actually doesn't sound that bad when you listen to it.
Si hace algunos meses dijiste no me voy a enamorar.
And this track was recorded. This was at another entirely separate location. I think it was a large diaphragm condenser. And what microphone does Analia use?
I think it's a Studio Project C1 mic.
Okay, and then the interface is like a Steinberg URS 22, or it's a small interface. The cool thing is the vocal. This was done entirely virtually. She was singing on her end the same way that you're running the program now, standalone, and I was just bringing the recording back in on my end.
Right.
Now, after that was done, I already had a scratch track that was done. I don't know if it was done on a may have even been a built-in microphone or something in like Logic, but she gave me something, so I had something to align it to. And that's basically, like, that's where this track is sitting. It's muted, but that's how we ended up recording that. So, and to be honest, I was really pleasantly surprised because it was actually usable. So what I thought we would do, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I wanted to kind of show really quickly just a basic setup of how you can actually do some recording. So I have my Sessionwire Send plugin. I've sent everything to a mix bus, and I'm sending you the entire mix. And this trim level was good for you, right? Like the playback, it's not blaring your ears out?
Yeah, volume was comfortable.
Okay, cool. Another cool thing is you can hear there's noise, my talkback mic, Ben's talkback mic, but because of a setting that we have in the application over here, we have the ability to auto-mute the local talkback and the remote talkback, so those will automatically cut off the minute you press play. So even if there's some noise in the conversation from fans going off or whatever, the minute you push play, it just cuts out all the noise. Okay. So now I already have this set up, Sessionwire Receive plugin. If you can play something for me, you've got your guitar hooked up and your microphone connected?
Right here.
Okay, that level sounds pretty good to me. What I want to do, I'm not going to do a lot, but let's just do basically what I would have you do if I was recording this, and I wanted to have maybe like even a rough count in so that I could align things manually after, is I'm just going to play 2 bars of clicks before the downbeat, and I'm actually going to record this. So I just have this running on an aux track in Studio One. You can also use an audio track. This is the important thing, that the Sessionwire Receive plugin is active and you see that there's signal. And then from here, I have a new audio track, and I've chosen the source to be the aux channel. So this could also be an audio track. That's basically all there is to it. And then it's just a matter of, we'll make sure that this is, we're going to mute this, and I'm going to record enable this. And now at this point, if I push play, we can just start recording on this track over here and just kind of noodle around. But I just want to do like a really basic demonstration of how it works, that I could actually, so you're hearing my high quality audio, you're running the Standalone app, but also you can record, you can play something, and I can even bring that into my session and then offset it and have it available right away. So I'm just going to push record. And do me a favor and count in as you hear the click track. Just do a count off like verbally, just so I have like a basic measurement. Cool?
Okay.
All right.
Sounds good.
Whoops, this is the wrong track. I want to do it on this one. Okay, so I'm just going to drop right into record and do a count off if possible.
2, 3, 4.
Okay, so now we've got a little snippet of audio over here. Now there's basically two ways that you could approach it. The simple way would be that I would just take this audio and I would just align this based on the transients. And once you've done this, you know, quite a few times, I can hear that you had like a bit of an upstroke on there. I would just kind of manually align this until I feel like it was coming in. So maybe something like that might make sense. And then in this case, I just need to route it to my mix bus, so you're hearing it. And then we end up having
3, 4.
Oh, oh, otra vez ha vuelto ese miedo que voy a perderte.
So that's kind of like the crude way. Now there is another way that if you count in, that you can literally make a measurement, especially if you have somebody momentarily turn up their speakers and you're feeding them a click track. If you record the click track back in, you could exactly align it, especially if you give them like 1 or 2 bars of click ahead of time, ahead of the performance. Now, another thing that's important is anytime that you can, just to make sure that you're hardwired. But this is the basics of it, right? You can do some pretty amazing stuff. And at the end of the day, let's say that the goal wouldn't be for me to necessarily record you 100% virtually, but I have, for example, I have a full mix down of this track, which is like an instrumental, which is basically what you're listening to. What I would probably do is just take this, and I wanted to show this in the Finder. And then once I have this in the Finder, I can scroll over here, and then I can just drag and drop this over your face. And then I've just sent you this file now. So now you have this file, and it's going to be sent over to you. And then basically, once you receive it, then you could boot up your DAW. You could record the tracks. You could record them exactly as you wanted. And then you could send those to me. You could actually patch me into the same session live, doing it the way that I am, so I could hear everything. And then when you're done, it'd just be a matter of like exporting that track and sending it back to me. And then I would plug that track back into my session. But the whole thing is done. Our talkback is taken care of. The high quality audio send, the high quality audio receive. I've been able to get usable tracks, even recording virtually on my end, but it's pretty amazing.
That was amazing.
So I know you're busy, got to drive your wife to the airport and she's off for a gig. So I will cut it loose there. I want to thank you for making some time available, and I'll call you after, call you a little bit later today.
Sounds good. Let's do this again.
Okay, man. I will talk to you soon.
Ciao.
Cheers. Bye. Okay. So that is the basics. Very, very cool. I really like this program because it brings everything in one place. It's not necessarily like having to run Zoom plus different tools to be able to create virtual connections and finding ways to like set your levels of talkback and what you're sending and receiving. Everything is kind of here, and it will incorporate itself into your workflow, whether you're working in a DAW or whether you're working standalone. So that's it for this part. Not sure if I'm going to edit on an outro. If not, then we'll leave it at that. And if I do, then I'll hand it off to myself. But that is Sessionwire in action, the basic workflows, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. So we'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.